Dana.
Everybody sign in?
Dana, this is you.
Oh, this is me.
I got their attention.
Thank you. So good evening. I would like to welcome everybody to the reorganization of the Patricia A. Hannaford Regional Technical School District Board of Directors. And the first task we have is to nominate and elect a board chair. So do I hear any nominations from the board for a chair?
Nominate Suzanne Buck.
I'll second.
All third.
Any further nominations for board chair at this time? If there are none, then I'd ask for call the vote. All in favor of Suzanne Buck as board chair for the 2020 and to the next meeting, 2021 meeting, all confirmed by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. I would like to recognize Suzanne Buck as the board chair and turn it over to her. Thank you, Suzanne.
Thank you. The next order of business is a vice chair. May I have a nomination for vice chair from the floor, please? Our vice chair currently is Miss Kim, who's trying to look like she's not here.
It really isn't, but that's okay.
You are. I've been told that she would be willing to rerun if nobody else wants it.
Yeah. I'm open.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to nominate Kim Farnham as our board vice chair. Is there any other nominations or conversation? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of Kim as vice chair, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays, abstentions? Oh, she's shaking her head at me. Okay, Kim, thank you. The next order is secretary for the board. Can we have a nomination for secretary?
Who is the secretary?
I don't even know who the current secretary is right now.
Oh, it's not.
Linda is,
She's the clerk.
she's the clerk, for the, she's the district clerk.
It might have been.
Okay, we think it was Allison.
I can't. Oh, you know what, it might have been.
It was Allison.
Okay, so, can I have a nomination from the floor for board secretary, please?
What does the secretary do?
Yeah, then what are the responsibilities?
Probably make sure that Linda takes the minutes and fills in case Linda's not here.
What kind of accounting degree you
Correspondence.
right? Nominate Nick.
No.
Nick has been nominated and refused as board secretary. Do we have any other nominations?
You're right.
Huh?
I did not hear a nomination. If the secretary doesn't have to do anything, I'm perfectly willing.
Nominate Lorraine.
I would like some.
Second, Lorraine.
I'd like some clarification of job duties.
You got it.
Second, Lorraine.
So, okay, so it's been moved and seconded that Lorraine is running for board secretary.
She put her hand up.
And she put her hand up.
So noted by everyone.
Would anybody else like to challenge Lorraine for board secretary?
Please.
Don't give me anything to do. Okay.
Hearing no challengers, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor of Lorraine as board secretary, please say aye.
Yes.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Refusal.
Is that an outright refusal or is that a
As
joke?
long as, like I said, if there's nothing.
Well, if it's similar to what the clerk does on the other school boards, you're responsible for taking minutes in executive session, because I'm the clerk on my school board, and signing
But you're not the
After
documents.
executive session.
You're fine.
I can always relinquish it later if I discover it's too much work.
Or,
Okay.
yeah, you have to report if action is taken when you go out.
We'll try it for now.
Okay, thank you.
Try not to tax you.
Thank you.
All right, Woody's class is probably thinking, this is a crazy school board. Can I have introduction of board members, please? Lorraine, why don't you start?
I will. Lorraine Morse, secretary representing us.
That didn't take long.
But that happened.
Mark Barron representing the Workforce Investment Board.
I'm Christina Macklin, and I represent the Addison Northwest School District.
Michael McGrath, Addison Northwest.
Gibson Smith, business manager.
Linda Barrett, board clerk.
Dana Peterson, Superintendent Director, Hannaford Career Center.
Suzanne Buck, not board clerk or secretary, chair. I'm from ACSD.
Missy Beckwith, Workforce Investment Board.
Nick Colston, representing ACSD.
John Markowski, potentially brand new here, so I don't actually know what my role is or how I would introduce myself more accurately than that. From the Bridport area.
There you go.
You make candy.
Yeah, well, my wife.
You don't have any, you just taste test.
That's right.
You may have to be required to bring something.
And
Responsibility.
Okay.
Kim Farnham from New Haven, and I'm the community at large member from Monet.
Kelly Mills, Dean of Students and Sustainable Agriculture Instructor.
And would our community members introduce themselves?
Woody Hannaford, culinary arts instructor.
Gretchen Bailey.
Oh, Jill Heisinger, culinary arts assistant instructor.
Abby Bailey, I'm a student in the Photography class.
Aiden Levine, culinary arts student.
Cool, thank you all for coming. Can I have a motion to approve our agenda, please?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda, other than, is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of the agenda as written, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? We've approved the agenda. Do we have any comments from our visitors?
I agree.
Okay. Correspondence, Dan?
No correspondence.
No correspondence. So that brings us to special recognition. So we have two long-term board members. One that's trying to leave us. We've just told him that he can't leave until we find a replacement. And another one that has resigned, and I believe she did not rerun for her own board seat, which was Allison. So, Mark, since you're the lone representative of the two, you are like our historian, because you have such a wealth of knowledge. You served on numerous boards here in the county, not just on the Career Center, but on ACSU. You were on Mary Hogan board. I mean, we can just keep going on down through all the boards you've served on, including on the state level. And we truly appreciate your wisdom, your guidance, your history lessons when we can't remember how we got to this point. And that's part of the reason we're not letting you go, is because you hold all that knowledge and we can't lose that. But we do have a cake in the back there that we had for you and for Allison, but I'm not sure where she is. She did assure me that she would make tonight, but something must have come up. But I just want you to know, from my position, and I'm sure from the rest of your board, just how much we truly appreciate all of your hard work, your experience, and your guidance over the years, and we really thank you. And I'm not kidding, that until we replace your seat, I'm not letting you go.
Well, thank you, appreciate that.
You're quite welcome. So if people want, during the meeting, they can go have a piece of cake, or Mark can cut the cake and then...
We've got some experts here to cut the
Oh, yes, culinary, all of our, yes, they could do that for us too. I'm sure they probably do a much better job than us.
Anyway, thank you.
Cheers, Mark.
Thank you.
I would say my time has been equally shared with this person here for so many years, through plenty of boards.
And through many negotiations too, I'm sure.
That is right.
Yeah. Missy, are you doing the reading of the bills, or is Nick doing that, or?
Looks like he's giving me that role.
Oh, okay, well,
Happy to do so. So expenditures for March 11 that were reviewed by Nick and Suzanne. Building and equipment reserve, no expenses. General fund, $111,332.38. Revolving fund, $11,037.42. McClure grant, no expenses. Makery grant, no expenses. Payroll for February 14th, 2020, $85,390.92. Payroll for February 28th, 2020, $84,988.45.
thank you.
Suzanne, we need to remove the minutes.
Oh.
So
Okay.
you just, that's
So may I have a motion to remove the minutes, because I believe, it sounds like there's a, just remove them? Okay, we're removing the minutes from the consent agenda because there seems to be an issue.
Corrections.
Okay,
So that'll come under action.
yep. So we will move the minutes to under action agenda, so they will be right above the appoint committee members so that we do not forget them. So that brings us to Woody and his students.
Awesome.
I'm definitely sliding out of the presentation.
So, Chef Woody, chef instructor, culinary arts. Adam Levine. I want to call him Adam. Aiden Levine. Abigail Bailey, and my assistant this year, Jill Heisinger. I'm going to do a 1-minute snapshot. It might go a little bit more, but the segue is on the history of this young man over here. So when I got here in 1998, this was a different career center, I want you to know. I walked into a program that had an AM and a PM, 16 in the morning, 22 in the afternoon. Mount Abe came at 8:40. Virgins came at 8:30, and they allowed different people to come down the hall at different times that I had no idea who was coming and who was leaving and what bus they were on. I had Lynn Kennelly, if you remember her. She was my assistant, and if she wasn't here, I don't think I would be, because she was a traffic cop and she knew how to manage kids, and I wasn't really good at it at that point. Anyways, that brings us to today, and Aiden has put together a really nice presentation that he's going to just quickly run through, which really synopsizes what we do. And then I'm going to ask Abby to share from her lens. Basically, she's really focused on baking and pastry. Aiden is focused on more of the culinary arts and customer service. And Jill is a graduate of 2009 and then went out in the world and then came back, and she's going to give her perspective as well. Take it away, Aiden.
Okay, so culinary arts program 2019 to 2020. I'm going to talk about the ins and outs of running and participating in the culinary arts program from students' perspective. I made this, so it's my perspective. All right. As a student, you may come here for a few different reasons. So number one is that you know that you want to join the culinary industry, the food industry, and you can come here to get a good jump start. Second reason is that maybe just you like cooking, and hey, I can work in the kitchen for a year. That'd be fun. Or three, you want to work in an industry of some sort. You don't have any clue what you want to work in, so test the waters in culinary class. Nevertheless, you're going to get good skills. You're going to meet a lot of new people, and ultimately you're going to learn if you're going to want to start your career here. What do we do in this class? Basically, for the first 2 weeks, we want to learn the Serve Safe guidelines, and after learning how to be Serve Safe, we take a test, and then we all eventually become Serve Safe certified. After that, we get right into the kitchen, where we split into 3 groups: the bake shop, cook line, and the dining table. All right. So, bake shop, Jill Heisinger, assistant chef, mainly runs the bake shop. Chef Woody definitely helps out there, but as of right now, Jill is in charge, and the students. So here we learn to make English muffins, breads, cakes, etc. You know, bake stuff. So we got the cook line. Chef Woody directs the cook line. Here he teaches students how to make soups, salads, sautés, platters, and more. We have the dining team. Both Jill and Chef, they both assist this. The dining team does dishes, laundry, polishing, utensils and glassware, taking care of the menu, setting up the dining room, and of course, waiting the tables when it comes to service. Finals and testing. Throughout the course, I read through our culinary textbook, getting tested on what we've read. In the kitchen, we get used to our newfound knowledge practically. After a semester of hard work, bonding with your fellow students and instructors, you get to your final weeks, which include a student run week, practical, and a written exam. So what do we do from 9:30 to 2:10 in this class? Well, we do service, usually on Wednesdays or Thursdays or both. It just really depends on the circumstances. If we aren't needed in the kitchen, we're going to be working on our textbook, get that culinary knowledge. We cater special events like the Common Meadows, Senior Living, Age Well, Acorn, Farm to Play Initiative, Mary Hogan School, much more. We do a lot of things. We have buffets for the school and guests, and we have a common theme of doing dessert buffets. People love those. We do our part in the community as far as community service. We make 2 soups a week for the Charterhouse Coalition. We also did the Day of Caring, like everyone else in the country, by making 70 bag lunches. It was hard, but rewarding. Student Run Week. Ooh, I love this one. Student Run Week is a very important week because, as it says, it's one of our last weeks of the semester where the students, only the students, get to run the Glass Onion. A quick list of what happens here. We come up with a menu, we order the ingredients, we come up with a timeline, we figure out who's doing what, and especially we learn a whole lot. This is where we can learn the most in the course because it focuses it forces us as students to work together and use our combined knowledge to get through 1 week of just us running the Glass Onion without any help from the instructors. Breakfast, the most important meal of the day. One of the things that this class does is encourage students to come in at around 7:30 a morning of their choosing and make breakfast sandwiches, bagels, and cinnamon rolls. This money goes directly into our club account, which then funds our end-of-the-year trip. We also cater breakfasts, such as recognition breakfast and breakfast for early advisory meetings. Field trips and the end-of-the-year trip. So, throughout the course, we go on plenty of field trips. So we've gone to the Sugar House, ran by the Career Center, Five Guys Restaurant, Stagger Supply, and much more. At the end of May, we go on an end-of-the-year trip. We always go to the Sagamore Resort and more. And one of our main events is the open house. Pretty much we make a bunch of hors d'oeuvres, and if you don't know what that is, it's an appetizer but smaller. Make hundreds of hors d'oeuvres for open house on Thursday, February 6th, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. It's already happened. It's a fun time. There we go.
I have no idea what you're going to say, but I can't.
I don't either. We're going to wing it. So this class has really helped me personally because going into this class, I wasn't sure whether or not I actually wanted to pursue a career in this field. And as we've progressed with this, I've really developed my love for baking and pastry and for just, I guess, decorating too. I really like it, and I've decided that that's probably what I'm going to try to do in my future career. Further past this, I've also learned a lot more just about cooking in general, and it's really helped me with my job. I work at Pratt's Deli, which is in Bridport, and it's really helped me build teamwork and helping me with working with others, because going into this class, I really probably didn't work well with others. I have a lot of trouble asking for help and relying on other people to help get things done. And so this class has really helped me develop that skill. And it's really helped me with like my job and that kind of thing, because we work with other people all the time. We're interacting with customers. We're doing all of this. And it's just life skills that people use every single day. And I think almost anybody can say that they've worked in a restaurant at some point in their life. And it's just really helping to develop people skills. And it really just helps us to communicate with others and to, I guess, just work really well together. So, yeah.
And right now you're training to do what?
Oh, I'm training to do the baking and pastry competition in Skills USA, which takes place up in Essex in early April.
That's exciting.
So awesome. Thank you.
I don't know how to follow that. That was a little too good. But yeah, so I was a student and I graduated in 2009. I came here from Mount Abraham Union High School, and I knew I wanted to work in culinary arts or in restaurant industry and field. So after I graduated this program, I went off to the Culinary Institute of America, and I graduated from there with my bachelor's degree from them. And I think that this program really gave me a lot of courage and confidence to go out and do those things. I think originally I maybe wouldn't have gone to school, or I would have chosen, kind of a generic degree and just done whatever. And this gave me a big focus, gave me direction, which I don't think I had. So after culinary school, I traveled around the US and I worked in restaurants kind of all over the country. I was in Colorado, I was in Texas, and I was in Oregon. Kind of looped back, and I knew my goal was always kind of come back here. It was that much of an experience for me that like just catapulted me into who I am today. So I'm really happy to have come full circle and be back here now. This is my first year teaching, which has been really fun and eye-opening for me to be a student and then now have to like regurgitate everything that I've learned out loud and in a way that people can understand. So that's been my goal. And something I've been working on with the chef a lot, and yeah, so I'm just hopeful for my future here too. So, okay, that's it.
Thank you.
Mark to share through his lens as a stakeholder, and we have this in April. We do these CWEs. They're called Career Work Experiences. And Mark has been generous enough to share his business with my students, so he can sort of speak to what that's about.
Yeah, and I think one of the really important pieces to this program is getting out into the workforce during the week. And we probably see 3 kids on average through the course of a year, and been doing it for probably 20 some odd years now. And actually, I still have a part-time worker who works full-time at Middlebury College in food service, who's still working part-time for us as a night manager. That started a number of years ago. But the getting out and seeing these, the kids get into a real life situation, it's interesting because we've had some want to be in the dining room, some want to be in the kitchen, some realize that, wow, a busy restaurant is not what I want, it's too stressful, but that's all part of the culinary experience when you come to a tech center and getting out and getting your hands dirty in the workforce, because it gives you different experiences. So we're just one place. You can name the other places around town that kids have been able to get out and get into.
JJ has been very generous. He allows my students, should they choose to arrive at 3:30 a.m. and do the bake shop, they can trade their time for there. Middlebury Inn, I don't know the current chef, but they've always been a really great host site. We've done the Middlebury Co-op. David Nino loves it. He always finds 1 or 2 employees. This is like your work.
Right.
And it used to be Sama. I haven't shared my students with Schaefer's yet. I'm still the jury's still out in my brain about that. So that's about that. It's just really great to be able to. Oh, and Eastview. Chef Dave Merrill has been awesome.
And before that, there was some at Middlebury College, and then also at Basin Harbor, I believe.
Yeah.
And Woodbury Inn.
Yeah.
And
Cafe Robert down there. Cafe Provence.
Cafe Provence.
Gourmet.
And before, we became a policy governance board, was part of Woody's advisory team. which was always a good thing to meet a couple times a year and to get feedback where, what he's trying to teach kids, what, we as businesses in the community wanted to do. I mean, that's something that I've missed over the years, since we went to a policy governance piece.
You're gonna come back now.
Yeah, once I get kicked off the board. But can't say enough about the program myself. It is a heck of a commitment for somebody to come down here all day, but I think the all-day commitment is really important to get a full flavor. And it's and yeah, I think it was your second choice up there, Aiden, where it was like, maybe you just want to cook and you like food, and I got to tell you, that's an important piece to the program. But to move on into a career and to make some kind of living, or to balance your your financial livelihood in the future with something culinary, it's a great place to come and expose young people to. So keep up the good work, all you guys.
Thank you. All right. Unless they want to look at your beautiful face over there. Well, that is the end of
Sometimes we have questions.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Questions.
Yeah, so I have a question. Because I want to know if you guys have ever considered, including Chef Woody, considered maybe doing a recipe book. I have a son that really loves those cinnamon rolls that you make for breakfast, and he used to tell me that if he got here too late, they were all sold out, and that ruined his day. So, so do you ever have any plans of doing anything like that?
That's an interesting, that would have to be, I would love to see that be a student-driven project.
Good fundraiser.
Good, oh, excellent.
Yeah.
Plenty of recipes.
Maybe, yeah.
We have a lot of recipes. We could do, yeah.
We have a bunch of well-practiced recipes.
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
That appeal to a wide variety
Of people, yes. Lorraine and then Mark.
First a comment, I've been to the open house many times and some recognition breakfast, and your food is awesome, so thank you for that.
Yes.
And a question, it sounds like you mentioned the 3 reasons why people might be in the program, and Abby, it sounds like maybe yours was the second, you liked to cook and were thinking maybe, but I don't recall you saying, Aiden, why you...
Mine was definitely the third option. I didn't really have an idea of what I wanted to do, and I saw this program as an alternative way to get credits in school and just enjoy school a lot more. And then after probably like a month or two in this program, I realized, okay, I like this.
So are you thinking you do want to?
Oh yeah, most definitely. I mean, before I even entered this program, I had been working in like culinary-esque workplaces. And now that I'm really in this program, heavily involved, I'm like, okay, I want to be in the food industry.
And what grade are you guys in?
We're both juniors.
So you had mentioned, Aiden, about practicals, and I'm not sure everybody understands what that entails. And for your finals week.
All right, so practicals. So one practical we've already done is that we can make a meal, right? With we have rice, chicken, green beans. We're just using what we've learned and applying it to actually creating something. And at the end of the year, we...
you haven't been through that one yet.
Yeah, at the end of the year, there's a big practical where we make soup, another meal. What else is it?
So they're all gonna individually, very shortly, there's gonna be a butcher come in, we have half of a hog in the freezer. We're gonna fabricate that hog, and then each of them are gonna come up with, they're provided with a bunch of recipes to choose from. They'll each make a sausage, so they're gonna learn how to make some charcuterie. Some of them smoke them, so it's curing. Then they'll use, that's one aspect of the practical. They'll use that sausage as their appetizers or in the entree portion of their meal, but they will make 2 plates of food for 6 judges. I don't know how many of you, there's a few of you who've been on
I've
there.
done it before, yeah.
Ms. Mills has been on there. So it's a way for them to create a menu, and then with 4 others usually in the kitchen, they have to figure out how to sequence, prioritize their mise en place, and plate a meal at the minute, so that they can't just all be ready at the same time. So they say, okay, I'm going first, I'm going 11:30, I'm going 11:40, I'm going 11:50, and then they get themselves through. So it's as close as I can get to enacting being an à la carte, having an à la carte opportunity. And we practice every time we do an age well meal. If they see how to do a plate, that's Josie in the middle there, and that's the, believe it or not, we had all of those curried chicken endives left from open house. And that's the Friday after open house that we served as an appetizer for 40. And that was, so that's what that was all about. So they learned how to do a plated meal. And so if they can do 40 with a team, they should be able to do 2.
Should.
And they do a baked product as well. So they have to sequence. They do a roll. So it's the whole thing. It's the yeast. It's the bake shop and the savory. That makes sense?
Yep.
And if any of you want to be judges on that panel,
Well, Woody, send out the date and, do a sign-up list. And
we're gonna have to figure out if we're gonna go to the Sagamore. I hope we are.
All right.
We're booking them all, but we'll have to pull up that. I'm praying. I think that there's not gonna be this fear mongering. I'm not.
So, Abby, you're not going to pursue a tennis career?
I'm not good enough at tennis for that.
I'm big.
Abby is an active tennis player as well.
Make sure to keep playing in the summer.
I was wondering why you asked that question. Are there any other questions for chef, assistant chef, or student? If not, thank you all so very much.
Thank you.
Giving us your time.
Thanks for having us.
Sign out of my account real quick.
You make a recipe, I'll give you my recipe for Mike's mash.
For Mike's what?
Mash bowl.
A mash bowl?
Yeah, everything in the fridge.
Oh!
Ketchup and barbecue sauce.
It's different every time.
It is, but it's really good.
Okay.
Probably don't want to serve it at a restaurant.
All right, so we are into the action agenda. So minutes. We had
So there are just some corrections.
okay.
So under the visitors, I spelled Mr. Moncrief's name wrong, so I'll correct that. Correspondence, the word resignation should have been retirement for Cheryl Werner.
Oh,
And that's also in the executive session note at the end was incorrect. And under the superintendent's report, Grady's last name was not there. It's devoid. That's it.
okay, with the corrections as noted, may I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the corrected minutes. Is there any further discussion? Any other corrections?
Glad to see Linda's feeling better.
Yes.
Yes.
You were on one cylinder that night. So.
It's a wonder I got any of them right.
With no further discussion, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of the corrected minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Minutes have been approved. So next thing is appoint committee members for facilities, budget and policy, community engagement, and set meeting times. Nick has said that he would like to stay on facilities. Missy, do you want to stay on facilities? And I haven't heard from Sean, so I don't know what Sean's is. Community engagement.
Well, Sean accepted a facilities committee meeting for April, so I think that would express
Yes, I think
his...
Okay, all
I
right.
think he's committed.
Okay. Kim,
Nick, I think Sean.
you're on community engagement, is that still okay? Christine, you're still on? Okay.
am.
Mike, are you still doing negotiations?
Well, we're kind of in the middle, yeah.
Okay, well, I just wanted to make sure, I didn't know. Just wanted to make sure. Lorraine, you're still hanging in there?
Yes, I am. Yeah, I did have a
a question. We've talked in the past about the budget and policy.
Yep,
and
to split those two.
possibly splitting those. I don't know if that's something that we ended up deciding that could be done or was going to be looked into, or.
I think if we split them, we just have to give each one a charge, so that we have to say what policy is responsible for and what budget would be responsible for.
You don't have to do that
Does it
now.
make sense to do?
We don't have to do
You
that.
don't have to do it right now. You could do that
At another
Okay,
meeting.
Okay, so that's just something that, we've discussed, so
Yeah.
we'll continue to look into that.
You need members to fill the committee, though.
True.
Right.
What
Well,
are you trying to say?
Our committees.
Okay, yeah, never mind. I'm not saying anything. I retract my comment.
Mark, you have been serving on budget and policy. You're still willing to hang in there? Okay. My other question is, we do not have someone replacing Allison yet. Does anybody know if Addison, or Mount Ava, I should say,
They haven't
met?
reorganized yet till the end of the month.
End of the month.
25th. That's when my position comes up again.
Okay.
It's a yearly piece, and
So then that's,
that's what I was told.
Actually, there was a mistake, Kim. Your position was renewed for 3 years. It expires in 2022.
According to them, it's an appointment that has to be done every year.
According to the bylaws, it's a 3-year appointment for an ad hoc, but we can check that afterwards. I reviewed that.
I went to the chair at Mount Abe, and that's what I was told, it was a yearly appointment.
Okay,
Ours
we
is
can,
too. I was officially reappointed on Monday.
no, well, there's a difference between Kim's
Community
position, which is
at
at large,
Right.
because Mike and by bylaws, Mike and Kim are a 3-year appointment
At the annual meeting.
at the annual meeting.
Right.
And she was appointed last year at the annual
I've
meeting.
been reappointed.
And you've been reappointed.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, you
And-
were elected.
So there was a problem, I reviewed this
Been here
with
a while.
Suzanne, I don't remember when, at the,
a week ago?
yeah, a week ago, at the
Since you weren't there.
agenda
Yeah,
setting
there you
meeting.
go.
And the information that was printed in the annual report was erroneous, even though we had corrected it. And so what happened was, I don't know how this happened, but Patrice acknowledged that we printed the first page as the same first page as last year, so that the appointments, the dates did not line up. So we apologize for that, but yours should have reflected an appointment last year in 19, which would have gone to 20, 21, and 22. And Mike's now goes to 23, so she's corrected that now, and she was printing a new page so that we could put it in the annual report, and that's been corrected on our
Website.
annual website.
So when I conveyed that to the chairperson at Mount Abe, I was corrected and said no,
Okay,
that it had to be an annual appointment, so.
My
that's where it was.
recollection is it's a 3-year position.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a conversation between superintendent.
I'll pick that up as long, yeah.
Yeah,
But
I
thank
just
you.
think, otherwise, so I submitted an email, and as of the 25th, they meet again, and she said that's all I need to do. I was like, fine.
Well, that's fine, we just need to clarify, because I should probably
Right.
get them a copy of our bylaws that actually state
Right.
how the board is
How the board's-
constituted. My understanding, and Mark, you can certainly help me with this, all appointments, whether those are WIB appointments or at-large appointments, are
Right.
3-year appointments. They were staggered as they
Right.
started. And then the other appointments are annual appointments as representatives from each of the boards. So
Boards.
there may be some confusion
Right.
between the
That makes
board member appointment and the
Right.
at-large appointment.
Okay.
So, but, thank
Okay,
you.
so we'll get that taken care of. The one thing where we set meeting times, I know Kim and I are both in a meeting that now meets on the third Tuesdays. So if budget and policy, if maybe we could have a conversation about a different time. Our meeting got changed to the third Tuesday,
Are we
S5.
third or the fourth?
That was the third. You can well, if you can find the email, I thought she moved it to the third.
Okay.
But if it is the third, if we can confer on that. But we can do that at another point. But now that Allison has joined us, Allison, you missed my eloquent speech about you earlier.
It was very nice.
So I'll try to repeat it. I don't know if I can say all of it. But I had mentioned that both you and Mark were leaving us. Mark, we haven't found a replacement yet, so we aren't allowing him to go anywhere. And I thank both of you for your years of service for the board, and not just on this board, but on your own school board over in Mount Abe, and that your experience and your knowledge and your passion for Career Centers is just so much appreciated. And it's hard to lose people that, choose to move on, and we will miss everyone's input. And like I told Mark, there's a cake over there that I think he was hoping that Chef Woody would cut for us, or the students, but none of them took him up on the offer. So we did get you both a cake to share with the board, and as a small gesture of thank you for all your years of service. Thank you. Gibson, policy 2.4, financial planning and budgeting.
I believe this was included in the board packet. So policy 2.4 says the superintendent shall not cause or allow financial planning for any fiscal year or the remaining part of any fiscal year to deviate from the board's approved budget, risk financial jeopardy, or fail to be derived from a multi-year plan. Okay, item number 1, as of March 2020, there are no conditions or situations as outlined in the board policy entitled Financial Conditions and Activities that either places the district or the school board at risk. Under number 2, the financial plan does not omit creditable protection of revenues and expenses, separation of capital and operation items, cash flow, and disclosure of planning assumptions. So indicate here that we have rigorous use of internal controls. All state and federal funds received by the district are direct deposited from the AOE. Assessments and funds received from other school districts are received by check. Deposits are recorded and classified according to the school district's chart of accounts. Cash receipts are received from the revolving fund or the student activity funds, and these receipts are counted by 2 parties in order to verify the amount and the accounts to be deposited. And in addition, operational costs and capital expenditures are separated in 2 different ways. First, by account classification, and secondly, capital expenditures are not only tracked by the district's chart of accounts, but by separate checking accounts from different banking institutions. Okay. The expenses of the district utilize a PO method to assure that all expenditures have gone through a process of pre-approval, to assure sufficient funds are available, and assure that prior to the purchase of cost of goods or services, that sufficient funds are available. Cash flow is monitored on a regular basis in order to ensure sufficient funds are available to be accounts payable and payable. Okay. And the last item, provide less. The financial plan that provides less for board progress during the year than is set forth in the government investment policy. The current fiscal year budget provides the same or additional funding for board prerogatives as established in the government institute policy. No additional programs or major expenditures have been added to the current year budget that has not been approved by the board of directors.
Are there any questions or comments or?
The auditors, I seem to recall, recommended a redistribution of tasks in the accounting area. Is that reflected in this? They were talking about segregation of duties.
Well, we do have some segregation of duties. Just to say firsthand that is always a challenge with a institution as small as we are.
Right.
Our office is made up of two people, really, it's myself and Gretchen. So, but, I mean, to the extent that we have, that there is a separation of duties, she's got to focus primarily on accounts payable. I'm doing a lot of the payroll piece.
Bank reconciliation.
But the auditors did discuss, some areas that we, in the past, she's been taking a lot of deposits to the bank, and ideally, we shouldn't have the same person doing deposits as well as payables.
No.
So
So that's been changed?
Excuse me?
Has that been changed?
That has not been changed to date. We need to act on that, and that's been a recommendation by the auditors. And, that would be a very easy fix from my standpoint. I mean, I'm more than willing to take deposits to the bank.
Okay.
And so that's one area where, that I see as an easy fix. But, we also have a lot of different controls with respect to, I myself, with the approval of purchases and who's signing off on checks, there's a separation in that respect. Different people are approving purchases than those who are signing those checks. So I think there's many people that are reviewing the payments.
Okay.
Gibson, what is the federal handbook IIR? What is that? It's under number 2, it's in the second paragraph. You say, first by account classification utilizing the framework of the codification system outlined in the federal handbook IIR.
Okay. Well,
is that like
our account classifications are designated by a federal handbook. This book, I think, is about 20 years old.
Okay.
But they do provide guidance as to how to set up account codes for each type of, whether it's a purchase or a revenue.
Okay.
And I will mention just that accounting structure will also change when the organization moves to the new e-finance system. The chart of accounts will be changing as well.
Fun times then, huh?
Yes.
Are there any other questions or comments? If not, may I have a motion to approve policy 2.4, financial planning and budgeting?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve 2.4, financial planning and budgeting. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion's passed. Gibson, you're not off the hot seat yet. 403B plan resolution is yours.
Actually, I've got a few handouts here that I'd like to distribute.
You want me to help? What do you want me to take?
Let's see. Did you grab that?
Distribute that as well. Okay.
Let me just grab a check and we'll...
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Take one side if you want to make that a step. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh.
Thank you.
Yeah, I've got it.
Oh, okay. Is this going on the other side?
Oh.
Short. Is there one more?
This is Dana's. Oh, wait a minute, Dana's got it, so
What do I have?
yours is highlighted, so we didn't give you one that was unhighlighted.
Yeah, that's mine from whatever. I need my notes.
Thank you.
So you got two things, what are you starting with, charter? Oh, but I gave you something in the
You
beginning.
gave me,
Oh, there we go. That's the second page. So, wait a second, Gibson, what are we looking at right now?
So, okay, so I think the first item I'd like to refer to is the Future Planning Associates document,
the letter.
the letter.
So we're all gonna start with the letter, folks. It's right in front of your computer.
Oh, that's, can't see it.
So, every 7 years or so, we're supposed to be, we have a 403B plan document that requires resubmission to the IRS. It's a restatement process. This is supposed to happen every 6 or 7 years. The last time this has been done is 2009. And the IRS has just come around with let's see. It's a plan document that utilizes IRS pre-approved language. I mean, so a lot of this is just meeting IRS specifications and regulations. And I think what you saw in the board packet, I think you saw a 40 or 50-page document, which maybe, if you got into any of the wording, I mean, it just gets very into the weeds of what a 403B plan is. And so Dane and I have spent some time with Future Planning, who has administered this process in the past. And we reviewed the language, and we did end up making a few changes. And I think everyone got on the second page, I summarized what those changes were.
This is the one he's referring to now?
Right. So basically, what we're accomplishing here is that we're retroactively restating the plan document so we are in compliance for all the years since 2010. This plan document did not have Roth IRA, did not provide for Roth IRAs. In 2013, we started to offer 2000 Roth IRAs. So Roth IRAs are now included in this document. The previous plan did not provide for rollover of 403Bs into the plan. We can now do that with this document. There was some wording language issue with respect to how the 403B plans and the benefit coordinates with the employment agreement. And we did not have to, we were able to accomplish that by referring to the employment agreement as such, as per the applicable collective bargain agreement or employment agreement. So by making that wording change, we didn't have to get into too much detail or change all our employment agreements. Just a note that in this document that the employees are 100% vested at all times. So any money they put in, they can take out. And one change is, previously there was a 2-year waiting period to begin making contributions and also getting a match.
The contributions were employer contributions. Not employee contributions. Employees have always been able to make their contributions. It was the employer match. But there was a conflict between the agreements signed between the board and the and the employees and what the plan document said many, many years ago. So there was an inconsistency and that had to be resolved. That's why that line is on there. So the agreements with all of the staff where there was an employee match did not have a vesting period, but the plan agreement that had not been revisited had one in there historically, and so that had to be brought up to date.
And finally, just on a third page, I just included the table of contents of the plan document, just so you had an overview of what's included in that 50-page document that you saw online. But that's,
So Gibson, what are you looking?
okay. Well, I think also in the board packet was, so what I'm looking for is to get an adopting resolution approved. And so I believe in the board packet, you've seen one of these adopting resolutions. And so I'm presenting this 403B plan document and looking to, I'm seeking approval of this plan document so we can be officially recognized by the IRS and we can move forward.
So then we need a motion for, who needs to sign this? It says the undersigned signed, but it doesn't like.
The motion needs to be to approve the chair of the board to accept the resolution, and that in paragraph 2, it speaks about an authorized representative of the employer, and that would be the business manager, who is the one who implements this particular agreement, because we are the plan sponsor.
Mm-hmm.
But the person so we'll need a motion for someone to authorize Suzanne to execute or to adopt the resolution, for her to sign on. But there needs to be an acceptance of the resolution, which will be implementing the plan.
So let's start with a motion to adopt the resolution to implement the plan.
Correct.
First, it's been moved, seconded. So it's been moved and seconded to adopt the resolution to implement the plan. Is there any further conversation or discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? So we've approved the adoption of the resolution. So then you just need a motion to...
The undersigned is certifying that the attached copy is that's what you got in your, that was the 46-page document.
Yep.
And you can authorize the board chair to sign that as a representative of the board.
Okay. Someone want to make that motion? Lorraine made the motion. Do I have a second? Mark made, seconded. So it's been moved and motion has been made and seconded to authorize the board chair to sign the resolution certifying that we are submitting a copy of a 403B plan as amended and restated. Is there any discussion on that?
Does the letter from Future Planning Associates need any action related to this?
You're talking about the first one that he's submitted?
Yes.
No, that does not require any action.
And if I understood it correctly, there's no financial
If you look at the letter, there's an $1,800 expense for managing the plan and helping us comply with IRS requirements. They have submitted a 78-page document that they gave us a copy of that this references, that plan is approved by the IRS. We have a binder for that. So that has gone through all of the appropriate vetting process. And in order for us to take advantage of that, all of the work that they have done for us, we've already pre-approved, otherwise we wouldn't have gotten to this point, the work that they have done to advance this for us. So.
Someone else had a hand up. I have a question. So this is putting us in compliance, correct?
Correct.
And so how long does this new plan, if you will, last? Like when do we have to redo this again?
When the IRS identifies that it needs to be updated.
So we wait for the IRS to tell
Correct.
us? That's
Yes.
how it works?
Yeah.
There's not a set schedule that you just redo the plan
The
ourselves?
plan stays in effect unless we make an amendment.
Yeah.
And there's a process by doing that, and future planning as our representative would manage that for us. But they have given us the ultimate flexibility by working things so that we can change the providers or the groups that we invest in. That was one of the items that I think Gibson identified. So that the investment companies that we have been using has changed over the years. We can do that as not, it doesn't have to be an amendment. If we change any of the content on the 46 pages that we published online, then that would be a formal amendment, and we would have to file that with future planning.
Okay, maybe I misunderstood, but I thought Gibson said we were supposed to refile every 6 to 7 years.
That seems to be an average that
But nobody does it, they just wait for the IRS to say.
Well, the IRS should be asking us, and that did not happen.
Okay.
So that's why the IRS has approved it going back to 2010, because they did not notify the, what are we calling these folks that they have? There's a term on here.
Volume submitters.
Volume submitters, right. Volume submitters are supposed to contact their clients, that's us, but the IRS didn't tell them that that statute, that it had been renewed. And so that's just coming up this year. So the plans usually, typically, are reviewed every 6 or 7 years, but the IRS initiates that. That was not happening, so the IRS has made all of these plans now retroactive to 2010 to cover anybody that would have started a plan between then and now.
So I've got a two-part question. On this letter, it says the original letter was sent January 8th of 2018. So did we, A, did we not receive it? And B, if this is costing $1,800, do we not need a motion to pay that?
No, we paid that out of our, well, we paid it out of our operating.
Okay.
Because we had a current agreement with them to administer our.
Okay. All right.
We just
Signed
redecided.
it this morning.
Okay, so you're basically saying there's no way to be proactive about this. I guess that's what you're saying. That's my point. You can't.
We can put a sticky in the file to say future planning, but they're supposed to contact us, and they're supposed to be prompted by the IRS. The IRS changes their compliance requirements periodically. They did not do that. Therefore, the length of time was extended on this, based on what I understand.
Is there any requirement to notify teachers about changes in
Yes.
this? Okay, and that will be happening.
There is a document in Gibson's binder that is the plan agreement that we will be handing out to all employees, as long as we adopt the plan.
Missy?
And you don't anticipate any concerns from staff on the changes?
No, and if anything, there are more beneficial provisions in there now than were in the original agreement that was, or the original plan that was adopted 15 plus years ago. So, in fact, there's more flexibility. That flexibility wasn't there. Gibson and I did a full review of all of the documents with Representative Mark Shedd from Future Planning, and then we called with any questions that we had regarding the change from our meeting and the final document. So.
Okay. there any more conversation or discussion, questions? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote, and now the motions on the floor is to approve, to authorize the board chair to sign the resolution stating that the attached is a copy of the Patricia A. Hannaford Regional Technical School District 403B plan as amended and restated. All those in favor, say aye, please. Aye. Any opposed? Good, because I don't want to repeat that again. Motion's passed. Where are we? Action on special fund accounts, that's another Gibson. Laura, you're not getting off that seat tonight.
So, I've got more.
You killed more trees?
More trees, yes.
Pass them around, you want me to send them out?
What's that thing?
Yeah. No, he's got, the others are going that way. Lorraine, would you send that around to Kim? Or?
Okay, so I'll just send all of these.
Thanks, John.
Okay.
It's 2 pages.
Oh, 2 pages. Thank you.
All right, so what this is referring to is some special fund balances that have been on our books for a period of time. And I'm dealing with a period of time which really predates me with respect to some funds that were not properly closed out when they were completed. So that my task at hand has been to go back in time and determine why these funds have not been closed out and what should be done. Because we on our books, I think this has been an ongoing process. I think we've got a total of close to $25,000 in funds that are sitting in special accounts. And number one, I'm trying to determine if in fact those funds do belong to us, and if so, what's the proper action to take. So what I have on this piece of paper, you'll see a number. You'll see 10 accounts where we've got some balances, and on the second piece of paper, I've got. You'll see the names of the various special funds, and on the second piece of paper, I referred to those amounts. And they correspond, and I indicate what I believe has happened based on my research. And in many cases, what seems to be happening is a lot of times the accounting has not properly followed the cash transactions that have taken place. So, or in some cases, I'm having very difficulty going back that far. I mean, For instance, Program Innovation Academy number 1 for $124. I just didn't, I could not find original documentation on that particular fund. And in fact, that fund predates our current accounting system. So just due to the small amount and the time that would be involved to try to determine what the $125 belongs to, I'm recommending just clearing this account and putting that balance into our general fund.
What's our repercussion for doing that if somebody doesn't want it there? I mean, are we allowed to do that?
Yes, we are.
Certain
In fact,
times,
if you remember the presentation by the auditors at the February meeting, there was, in the management letter, there were some accounts that needed to be cleared. These are some of those accounts. There are still more, as Gibson has referenced. But we were given a procedure to go back and research, and some of these go over a decade. And at that point, if we haven't gotten an indication that that money is not ours to return to the general fund, then we can return it to the general fund. So Gibson and Gretchen have done due diligence to find out the origins. That's why that's marked on there, the date of origin, and the amount. And so what they're doing is that they have either determined that they know where it came from, or they don't. Or for it to sit in a special fund account means that it's just sitting in our bank account as well, and we don't have access to that. And at a certain point in time, we just have to release that. And it requires board action to be able to do so, but that money is not, as far to the best of our knowledge, is not owed to anybody, nor is it due back to anybody. In many cases, I think Gibson may have already mentioned this, it was just a journal entry that did not place the money that came in as revenues or savings into the general fund. It was something that was just missed and carried over year after year after year, and should have been journal entered at some point back in the past. And so if they can't understand why it wasn't journal entered back, this is not unusual. What is unusual is the length of time that is taken for those funds to be reconciled. And they've been talking to us about this for the last 3 audits. So the previous auditor should have caught it, but they didn't, and they didn't make that recommendation, but RHR Smith did, and they told us how to go about doing this in a responsible manner, in a legal manner. And that is to bring it to your attention, to say that these funds should not be existing because they don't serve a purpose. There's been inactivity for over a decade, if that's the case, and that Gibson has researched to the best of his ability, and is making the recommendation that that money be returned to the general fund for potential use either this year or in the future.
Lorraine?
So it has to go into the general fund?
That's you can leave it, well, no, you can't. They're making a recommendation that does not stay in a special account unless there's a purpose for it, and we can't find that purpose. So the alternative is to transfer it as miscellaneous revenue into the general fund.
Or just throw a big part of the board.
Well, no, I was thinking like, we're always saying we're short on money, we're like, we could like put it into like a rainy day type thing if we needed something, or, I mean, I guess if it's in the general.
It's in the general fund, you
can still do that, but.
I think the proper procedure is that it goes to the general fund. That would then perhaps potentially allow our fund balance at the end of this year to be higher, and then you can take that money and transfer it. I mean, not transfer it, but make an allocation to a for a special fund. So that's my understanding.
I'd like to make a motion that we move on the recommendation of administration to move the special fund accounts back to the general fund.
And seconded to move the analysis of special fund balances all into the general account. Is there any further discussion?
Total amount?
Total amount, $9,558. So that's what should be also in the motion.
Oops. So we're going to move $9,558 from the analysis of special funds balances to the general account. been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion's passed. You can finally appoint a new board member. So we're a little behind by 10 minutes. Appointment of a new WIB member, term to expire 2023. So in your board packet, you have, well, he goes by Judd, and he calls himself on his resume Justin, so.
Official name. I figured I should put my legal name on there.
Thank you.
So Judd was approved through the WIB board last Thursday. We had a meeting that same, the day before that. They then met with Judd and they emailed us that they had approved his candidacy for our board to come to us for our final approval. Does anybody have any questions for Judd before we take a motion to approve him as a board member for 3 years or for life or?
There's a resume needed for that. I saw it, I said, we have another position?
The WIB does require that people submit a resume. That's one of their requirements.
Oh, okay. I don't think I did that.
Oh, well.
Rebel.
However many years ago.
That's right, you did serve on the school board for a while.
Yes, I did.
And I think that brings a certain amount of experience to this board as well. Maybe you could share that with someone.
Sure. Well, yeah, I was part of the Bridport School Board also for a 3-year term, the last 3 years before Act 46 and unification. So I haven't been part of any boards since the new system has been put in place.
Your PTO.
Oh, yeah, and I've been on the PTO at our local school for 7-ish years. Yeah, somewhere in that, approximately 7 years. And my wife and I have a chocolate shop in Virgins that we run, and then I do all sorts of odds and ends, contracting, heavy equipment stuff, a wide variety of things that would take a long time to go through. But currently I'm working with a builder, and we live in Bridport. We have 2 kids, one's in the middle school, one's in the elementary school, and so I figure this is sort of the next place for me to join into.
He's also an accordion player.
Yeah.
What else can I say that you haven't said about yourself? You built a house.
Yeah, building. We're hoping to move in this summer. Yep.
Were you building that 12 years ago?
Yeah, we've been building it for, this has been 3.5 years now.
3.5 years.
No, all joking aside, you understand the commitments to the board, once-a-month meeting, committee meetings, you're familiar with that, having been on the Bridport board,
Yep.
you're able to commit to those.
I'm hoping to, yeah.
Is there a committee that you might be interested in serving on?
I actually am looking to learn some more about the committees. I'm a little bit unprepared for this, just as far as life and springtime and all of these things, but a lot of the things that happen in the Hannaford program do interest me, and I mean actually just the list of things there, from mechanics to equipment to contracting to the culinary stuff. And then I look at the number of my friends when I was in this school district or this area when I could have gone, and look back that I definitely should have been in the ART program as well. So there are a whole bunch of things that I wish I did at Hannaford Career Center when I was a student. So I'd like to see what's out there for committees and for things to do to join what might be the best fit.
Great.
And Jen, I'd be happy to give you a reorientation to the Career Center, as well as give you any information. So if you want to set up an appointment, I'd be happy to do that, hopefully between now and our next meeting. And we can get you reappointed, and I can fill you in on the various committees, because on all of them. Not technically, I just attended them all.
Right.
And takes minutes of them all.
Yes, and he's been instructed that moving forward, he's to give up the minute taking.
I'm working on it.
Does that mean we need to elect a secretary for each committee?
Each committee needs their own secretary, yes. Dana's gonna relinquish some things.
Get your pen out, Suzanne.
I've had my computer at many meetings.
There you go. We're working on it.
So, may I have a motion to approve Jed's appointment to the board as a WIB representative until 2023?
So moved.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded to accept Judd as a member of our board, as a WIB representative. Is there any further questions, conversations, discussion?
Have you done negotiations at all?
I was not on the negotiations committee during my time on school board, but I don't know that it is probably the right place for me. I'm not sure.
All right, is there any other questions or conversation? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of Judd as becoming a board member, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Judd, that's your chance to say no.
I was going in the model of the rain there.
Thank you, Judd. Can you elect
Thank you.
Judd as your member?
Thank you, Judd.
Thank you so much.
So now you can sign them.
Oh, yeah, attendance first.
Yeah. Informational agenda. All of the reports were sent out. Is there any questions or concerns? And I know Dana has a comment to make.
Thanks. The first comment that I'll make is that if I will try to answer any questions from the adult ed report, if you have any. Len Schmidt could not be with us. He had to go down to Virginia to take care of an aging parent and make sure that all of the facilities were appropriately in order for making the arrangements for her. So,
Oh, one thing on Len's report that
Yes.
I told him that I was going to ask him about
Okay.
is, he admitted at a meeting that he doesn't report on the adult co-op, or the adult programming,
all of this is adult program.
or maybe he meant his co-op.
Co-op, who may not.
So I told him that it would be appreciated if we could start doing that, so
Sure.
that people could see
And
what the co-op.
if he doesn't want to do that in that report to keep them separate, he can send me something and I'll include it in the superintendent's report. Or, we can do it under...
We can do it somewhere, so.
We can do it somewhere, right.
So that people can see all the co-ops.
Yeah, because that's an important part of our work, and I was just reviewing some of that with Denise and Len. It seems like our activity is increasing, which is very good, and our partnerships with the community are strong and growing. So. But yes, that's a great recommendation. Thank you. With respect to my report, it was very long. I hope we have the opportunity at some point to talk about it and review it, read it, and ask any questions if you want. There are a couple of things that I want to highlight. One is our mission and vision work. I am extremely proud of the Community Engagement Committee and the work that they are doing. I mentioned that in my report. I was at the last mission and vision work group meeting. Were you there, Christina?
Mm-hmm.
It was fantastic. People were humming. It looked like a...
It was a work session.
It was a work session. It was definitely a work session, but it looked like a newsroom where people were bouncing around all over this space and getting things done. And we made sure that we were putting together all of the information needed for hosting our community events in the at Mount Abe, for Jen's over here. And we got out a number of emails to county partners as well as the staff and students to do a survey. We are up over 360 surveys returned, and we're looking to get 500. I sent out an extra reminder. I think it was last night or this morning. I lost track of time completely. But if you are a board member and you haven't done one of our surveys, would you please take the time to do that? if you'd like and you haven't, send me an email and I will send you the survey, and you can do it and send it to some of your other associates. That would be helpful, because we are trying to make that 500 response mark, and we're getting very, very close.
Was that your challenge that we got there?
Yes, that was more challenging. You know, you guys give me lots of tasks, and every once in a while I ask for
Oh, I want you back.
Ouch. Anyway, and I was asked just to remind board members, if you haven't done it, please do it, and if you want information, I get it to you. There are a couple of other things that I wanted to mention. I wanted to point out, that's our lead testing update. We're waiting to hear back from Department of Health on the results of our screening, but I just remind you that we did do some preliminary screening on our own. It didn't count in terms of being recognized as a full-fledged analysis, but we got some good information and we made some changes. So we're hoping that the number of taps that we have that are not in compliance is very small, if any. And John will be updating the facilities committee as soon as we have those results back from DOH. And he, as I noted in here, last Wednesday, I think, he went around, started at 3 in the morning, and finished around noon with him and Alan, getting all of the taps and submitting those. Sorry.
I think that's the first time it's ever happened. Here, seriously.
So anyway, if you get an opportunity to thank John for his hard work on the lead testing, I appreciate that. And the last thing that was
gone 6
well, he sent us an email.
He said it was successful.
Saying that he was
ready
now
for marathon.
6'3", right? He was now 6'3", and his surgery went well. So we got that about 2 o'clock this afternoon.
Yeah,
So
he's already done several laps around the nurse's station.
there you go. The other thing that I wanted to highlight is that we had professional development. It was also a very productive work session on March 4th, and I provided a link to a YouTube video to give you some focus. It's only about 10 minutes. If you want an idea of the type of work that we were doing during that work session and what it means to focus on proficiencies, as well as on the calibration that was the focus of this particular PD, please look at that video. And I want to give a shout out to Kelly, who was able to coordinate that when we had someone who was going to be facilitating had to go home sick. So I just want to thank all of the staff for the great work that they've been doing and their commitment to the students and to continuous improvement. So thanks.
And then
And I have
one update on the...
And so the other thing that is not in my report that I wanted to speak about was that an update on what we are doing with respect to monitoring the COVID-19 or novel coronavirus. And I'll start by, and Kelly, you can feel free to chime in at any point. Just this morning, we had a meeting here at the Career Center just to go over a lot of information. We are, I think it's safe to say, on a little bit of information overload with respect to what we're hearing in the media, what we're hearing with respect to our partners in the community, what we're hearing around the state and around the nation. And I wanted to emphasize that we do have a safe place here, and that we will maintain that safety by asking everybody to help. And one of the strongest recommendations from the Department of Health, as well as from the CDC and from our nurses, is that we use good techniques for hand washing, as well as universal precautions, and that if we emphasize those, we can minimize the risk potentially and impact to ourselves, our students, and the community. So we started there. I also updated them on a superintendent's meeting with the Department of Health that I attended
Yesterday, yeah.
One has happened in the last 24 to 36 hours. My head is a little fuzzy, but we did have that meeting. The Department of Health was there for about 2 hours talking with us about how to proceed. And the Department of Health follows the CDC recommendations in terms of epidemiology and tracing what is happening in terms of spread of illness. And they're asking us to do the same thing, follow those standard recommendations for sanitation. We had a meeting with our safety team and included, that included Tom Hanley about a week ago. Monday we have a monthly meeting. We reviewed our procedures. We also reviewed our internal communications and roles and responsibilities if there were an event. We were thinking about an event that may cause an evacuation or something else, but it just so happens that this falls into the same crisis mitigation plan, and we were talking about roles and responsibilities. Kelly did an update yesterday morning with all of our staff to talk about that, and then we got more information throughout the day yesterday. Kelly and I spent about 2 hours yesterday afternoon putting together all of our recommended resources. I sent a copy of my email to families, to you, and you should be able to click on that link. You can go to the website. I'm still working with Dan Callahan for the correct linkage. We're going to have it go to a folder. Right now it goes to a page and on the website, and you can get the links regarding the COVID-19 information. But we're having a folder for any alerts and updates, and that will replace that, and the COVID-19 recommendations will be one of the documents in those folders. We started this a while ago because our website is a little clunky and we can't do just a message or a banner floating across the front of our page. So we now have an alert section, and we can announce the school closures, anything with the bakery. We announced the change in the date for the open house in that area, and that's what we're going to have on the website. We talked about a variety of things this morning with the staff. We touched on topics of what constitutes grounds for a closure or dismissal, which is in one of the documents that you may have access to, and that there are 3 types. It's either selective, which may be one school within a district or an area. It could be reactive, that a school or a district is experiencing a high rate of absenteeism, either by staff or by students, and it would require closure. And then the preemptive ones are the ones where you close to actually help contain the spread of a particular disease, and that is only conditioned by the Department of Health, which would be in contact with AOE. If we are going to close for some reason, we are expected to contact AOE and have a dialogue there to let them know what's happening so that they can be in the loop. We will follow those recommendations. So the recommendations are recommendations from the Department of Health, recommendations from AOE, and AOE has given us a whole bunch of internal procedures that we can follow. I've shared many of those with our staff, and I just want you to know that we'll be following those recommendations as closely as we possibly can. Let's see if there's anything else from this morning. If we are going to cancel school, one of the recommendations is that all after-school events should be canceled. We were talking about whether it was necessary at this point in time to cancel events on a general basis, and the superintendents agreed that we didn't need to do that. We are all reviewing field trips, and right now most field trips are going to be contained within the state. I know that ACSD has announced in their conversations with Bill Lawson that those are only going to be allowed within the county, and so the superintendent's group yesterday, nobody was comfortable with leaving the country, and those are all been canceled, and I think our partners have started to issue those types of decisions, and others will be evaluated on a case-by-case basis. We have been receiving information from our partner agencies working with FFA and Skills USA, and at this point in time, no determination has been made. They're looking to do what we're doing and making sure that any environment for students to participate is a healthy environment and is properly cleaned and sanitized, and so they're taking those same steps, and they're not planning to cancel at this point in time unless something is noticed to us by the Department of Health. In the document, in the page that I set up and Kelly and I sent out yesterday, there is a link both to the local contacts for the Department of Health that we can call, as well as a link to the Department of Health webpage where the updates are. So all you have to do is click on one of those links and you can see the updates for that page for the most current information. So I'm hoping that that is helpful. The other thing that I did mention to staff is that the AOE is collaborating with school districts to be able to provide, in the event of a closure, a preemptive closure, provide food for meals for students in need. So there are guidelines that the federal government issues for the Department of Ed and the U.S. Department of Ed, and they require that people eat them on site. They're looking for a waiver to be able to have them take meals out of the building. So that is what AOE is working on to help the cause in the event that something needs to be shut down preemptively for a period of time. So I hope that that provides enough information for you to feel confident that we are monitoring the situation and working closely with all of our partners at whatever level and providing that information to the students and the staff. Our cleaning procedures are top-notch. We have all of the appropriate sprays, and we are going through the building multiple times during the day to make sure that we reduce or minimize the impact. In fact, people used to see me walking around with sanitizing wipes, and when I go from classroom to classroom, I just put the door handle. So, I mean, everybody's doing their small part, and we're hoping that that will be beneficial for the career center.
So are there any questions on any of the report?
Lorraine? Not a question, but you wrote in your report about the budget passing, but I just wanted to make sure we vocally thank our voters for supporting our budget again.
Yes, thank you.
And so I apologize, Lynn, I probably should have put that on my, that is in my report, and I did have a community, thank you, thanks for calling that out. We are so grateful for the overwhelming participation in Addison County in support for the Career Center. So our budget passed with nearly 65% approval rating, and so that's a credit to the work that the professional staff does here, your work as a board to get the information out, and for our community partners to support us in all of the work that we do on behalf of the students of Addison County. So thank you for reminding me.
Yeah.
I had the opportunity to listen to Dana's report. Modi, very thorough. I don't think there were a lot of questions. There were a couple at their annual meeting, but you addressed them when you came, and I think again, just give you that feedback. It was great.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
And I passed along to you the question from the ACSD annual meeting that might require your historian down there to help you answer.
Suzanne, the other question came up in our annual meeting was whether or not the Hannaford Career Center participation numbers from each district could be listed in their report. And I think it's helpful to a group of voters that don't have students that come here, aren't necessarily interested in our particular budget, but would get an idea of a cross-section within the last couple of years, for instance. I use Mount Abe as an example and how that's, the enrollment's increased. And I thought it was a very good question. It was from a former board member that had been on Mount Abe for a number of years, and I thought it was pretty insightful. So it may be something.
So clarifying, they want under the career center, they want.
No, in each individual sending schools budgets, they wanted a little, synopsis.
Okay.
And, I thought, great, and that's an opportunity for us to do some public relations in regards to how much the numbers are, what the programs are. It doesn't have to be very big, but people aren't necessarily picking up our report to look at. They're kind of waiting for either Dana's presentation or somebody else, their representative at the board level. So I just
we can easily get numbers on
and I just thought it was great
students participating in the programs that they're in. And we can present that, we can send that out as soon as we can gather that information. If you'd like, I can put that in my next board report if I have time.
I think that's fine. I don't know if we still have a link with Mount Abe. Used to be, you could click on the Mount Aid link and you could get sent to Hannaford if you wanted to.
I think that's still there.
But I'm just wondering if it should be.
It is on the MAUSD homepage.
Okay.
Yep.
And again, maybe
All of
that's
our-
something that could be part of that, main link versus just being a separate thing. Because again, people don't necessarily go to the Hannaford link unless they have some sort of connection.
Right, exactly, yeah.
So what are you suggesting, Tim? Where would that go?
So in talking to the superintendents, and obviously it's a situation where they do a weekly at Mount Aid.
Updates, yes, they do a weekly update. And they email it out from the office. Oh, they post it on Facebook.
Right, there's a variety of places it gets posted, other than separately from Mount Aid or that. And they've been, very aggressive about doing it this year. I've been very impressed with their Facebook page. It's out there, and it's everything,
Yeah, Dr. Burrows sends stuff out quite frequently. I was just trying to figure out what his,
But that information, again, pulling it out of this particular school's, newsletter, moving it to the sending schools.
oh, so the ACSD questions, since Mark's so they're chomping at the bit to find out what historian he has to pull up. A gentleman at the annual meeting wanted to know if the Career Center paid rent to the ACSD district, and then it was announced that it was $1 rent, and then I believe the question was directed to Dr. Burrows to look into that to see why we were not paying more rent based on the amount of money that was being charged per student. We should be paying rent. So I asked Dana how the building was built and with what funds.
I believe it was 100% state funded.
Federal.
Federal funded? Federal funded, okay.
So that,
Local taxpayers never spend on it. And that's why there's no reason Middlebury or ACSD taxpayers should benefit from collecting rent from other districts.
Mark, wasn't that originally the DO program?
Nope.
That had that? No?
No.
I thought originally they put that.
DO program is just located within the center.
Yeah.
No.
Because at one point in time, I think it was an outreach program of the Career Center.
Well, it was an outreach program of all 4 SUs, including Otter Valley.
And it was operated.
It was operated
That's
through
right
the
here.
superintendent's office, and then eventually it ended up just being ACSU or ACSD that was operating it. But that was a consortium between 4 SUs.
Yeah. So
that's
the answer to that question.
just in case, they come back around and they want to charge rent.
And that comes up periodically.
I just wanted
It always
Dana to
has.
have a good answer for them so that,
I couldn't remember the question. I had an answer, I just didn't remember what the question was.
adding more money into our budget.
Before your
And that was before my time. And the only reason I was involved with it was when the split from the Career Center from Middlebury High School.
That's right.
And we had to work on all the wording.
All right, well, folks, I'm sorry, we are well behind time. Policy 4.1 governing style, who would like to take a stab at it? Maybe Mark and Lorraine should not take a stab at it. Anyone? Mike?
Sure. I think we had a good meeting, a lot of good interaction. I think we're running a little behind though.
Yeah, we are, sorry.
Be expected. I think the culinary program had an excellent presentation. I'm real glad to see that, and like everything that we've seen, it's just been excellent. I think that's good for us to really get kind of enough. We get updates all the time, but I mean,
To actually have the kids.
yeah, to have the kids speak out and say something like that, I think is really good. So I won't go on too far, so I don't burn any money.
Thank you.
I move to executive session.
For negotiations and personnel?
For negotiations and personnel, or do we need to end this one? No, not yet.
Do we have personnel as well? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So it's been moved that we go into executive session, a second?
Second.
All in favor? Anybody want to say no to executive session? All right, so we will be in executive session in about 3 minutes. And David?
3 minutes.